why do you think it's so hard for us to get local support and not just global support, more localized support from other people other than yourself? Do you think the guys are not interested, or do you think it's because they're all looking up to aspire to be the internationals and don't feel they're on that level yet?
I think my involvement from the beginning, it was from a point of exposure, you know, of South African music. You know, when guys like Valentino came through to try and help the scene, to try and help, it's actually helping the country, you know, and build a school. And they wanted our involvement. For me, it was if we get on board, we, you know, get to expose our talent. I mean, he's done so much work in South Africa so far. It also helped me in so many ways. I mean, I got to know more about electronic dance music, you know, because in South Africa, we have two different scenes, and in the scene that I'm in, I wasn't exposed to a lot of things. I didn't know there was a DJ or person called Richie Houghton at all, you know. I didn't know there was a Luciano. You know, when these names came up, it was literally first time hearing about them, and, you know, then got to meet the guys and, you know, got to understand their scene, you know, got to follow what they do. And so in a way, it has helped us. It helped us so much to also grow our scene, you know, and also expose our scene to a different style of electronic music, basically.
Do you think bringing in internationals is going to take away some of the cultural input in our music, especially on the house side? No,
I don't think so. I mean, we're here. I do more gigs outside South Africa than anywhere else. You know, it would be a very ignorant thing to think, you know, when you bring other people to the scene in the country, you know, you're taking away anything. I think it's a plus. I mean, it helps us in so many different ways to also see how the other people are doing, you know, on the scene. It helps us grow, you know, and collaboration opportunities also come, you know. It can only grow the scene. I don't think there's anything negative about it.
Do you agree that the internationals are giving the kids inspiration and motivation to keep going over and above the educational?
Fully, you know. I think us as local artists, we can only do so much to inspire, you know. And the more they know, it's like a school, you know. It's in school, and this is a history lesson, you know. The more they know about the scene, the better.
I think there's definitely space for the independence. I mean, obviously, again, you know, it's part of the artist development, going through indies, you know, working in a very kind of focused genre. Like I said, obviously the industry is going through, you know, the local industry is going through a bit of change. You know, however, we're seeing a lot more collaborations. You know, in our case, as an example, you know, within Sony, we've got a joint venture with one of the leading local labels, House Africa, and that's really been a great success. So it's really, I think, about partnerships and developing the talent. I think, you know, in terms of the local side of it, yeah, I mean, the reality is in Africa, majority is local based. You know, if you have a look at the music consumption, you know, majority of the paid for music is local dominating sales charts. The other side of it is that, you know, if you just look what's happening right now in Africa, and obviously South Africa being key, and also going into the rest of Africa, specifically West Africa, as our Nigerian colleagues mentioned in the talk before, and also in East Africa, there's definitely a big emergence in the sound. I think that, you know, Africa is the next focal point in terms of what's coming out of sound. I think it's because the market's been isolated for so long that they've developed their own culture, their own sound, influenced by what's happening in the US, what's happening in Europe, and that's what makes it unique. And also based on the numbers, there's a really big number of talent coming through. So definitely space for indies, and definitely one of the few undeveloped markets. You know, it's not saturated, so a lot of opportunity and really a lot of excitement, talent, sound, the whole number.
In our industry, we always faced with the majority of people are copycats, and a lot of people in this industry bypass all the necessary steps of getting to the next level. You know, a lot of artists come and new artists approach me to manage them or whatever, and I always say you've got to learn. You know, you've got to learn what it's like to suffer at the bottom, so that when you do become successful, you remember suffering. You know, and so yes, there's a lot of copycat artists, but you know, as long as you've got the power to keep on positioning your artist as a leader, you just got to keep, you know, you've got to fight for that power and make sure that the competition don't really have a chance.
Shaun, you had 50,000 people at this year's Ultra. Mm-hmm. What are your plans for next year?
To go bigger, more. You know, we haven't kind of let the cat out the bag just yet, and you know, I'm not going to do it right now either. But you know, we are going bigger next year. We are looking at more days in the festival. You know, we do a back-to-back festival, one in Cape Town on the Friday, and then one in Johannesburg on the Saturday, and they are back-to-back. We've definitely seen, you know, the bigger markets in Johannesburg, so the intention is to grow that and just continually grow the brand and the business, and keep using it as a platform for all talent. You know, one of the exciting things for me for Ultra and all, you know, up to all the tours I did before Ultra and to Ultra was that with Ultra we have this global stage, even though it's a local-based festival. You know, with content and after movies and everything like that, you know, out on the internet, it gives our talent and everybody associated with this global stage. You know, our after movie is on 1.2 million views right now from last year's festival, and when I look at the YouTube statistics, it's from everybody all over the world, you know, and in there we've got the Goldfishes, you know, I think, you know, Nutty's in there as well, and it just opens it up, and it's always been an intention for me to use that as a platform to be able to expose our local talent to the rest of the world and force, you know, the collaborations, like what Black Coffee was saying when we put together the Avicii and Black Coffee remix. I think it was fantastic for everybody, for Avicii as well. You know, it's about the collaborations.
Raymond, you've got a whole bunch of properties in Cape Town, which are the trance scene, which is only big in Cape Town and not really big in the rest of Africa, or the rest of South Africa. Why do you think that has become so big in Cape Town and nowhere else, Joburg and Durban, hasn't caught on to your trance events yet? Side trance events.
I think because the mentality of the people in Cape Town is different to the ones in Johannesburg, number one. Number two, Cape Town, I'm not saying Johannesburg doesn't have beautiful outdoor venues, but Cape Town, our parties are always created in mountains with rivers or dams or lakes or whatever, beautiful landscape, beautiful environments, so we kind of fit into that environment, and luckily the Cape Town mindset is sort of compatible with the venues and the sound. The sound, although it may be progressive psychedelic trance, the sound becomes like the backdrop, the landscape for the party. It's not necessarily the dominant feature of these events.
There's a lot of support for local music, and you know, in reality is, you know, in South Africa, you know, the mass populace, you know, their pop music is essentially 4/4 based. It's house music, whether it be Kwaito, whether it be deep house. So there's definitely a lot of growth there. They definitely don't have a concern. I mean, obviously, again, the market is changing in terms of how people are consuming, you know, music, and it is a challenge for us, specifically within our market, based on digital penetration within the mass market. So there is a challenge there for us. But one I think that is going to happen, if you see what's happened in the rest of Africa, you know, they've gone straight into mobile. They skipped the PC age. And I think that's where it's going to go. So I think there's definitely a lot more potential in terms of the growth of dance music. And it's going to be specifically homegrown. That's where the focus is going to be.
Coffee, on the Kwaito side, you know, looking back at the last 3 years, we've had 2 albums in the top 100 in the past 3 years. Do you think Kwaito as a sound has gone and our kids have moved on to a more international sound? Or do you think there's still space for that very unique Kwaito sound in the African market?
There's still a lot of space to grow, you know. This includes even house music. I think, I mean, an example, I look at Nigeria as a market and how much it's consumed by Nigerians. and how much they really support and keep it alive as a country, you know. But as an outsider, I still hear, as a producer, like a lot of, I still see it's a space in improvement. I still feel it needs to grow musically, you know.
Where do you see the country being at the end of this year in the electronic music scene?
Well, I think the great thing is, for as long as I've been in this business, about a decade, the change in consumption from international to local. So when we started our label, we released compilations that were 100% licensed music from the rest of the world. This year, over the last 12 months, our releases were probably 80% local. And I think that trend's just growing. And if we look at the amount of kids that are coming through our schools, other schools, online educating themselves, mentorships with other producers, artists like Nati who are incubating acts and developing them, I think it's an exciting time, and I look forward to seeing the next Black Coffees that break out of South Africa and the continent to the rest of the world.
We really are growing. Even in the Township now, you know, you start seeing guys doing their own shows, and because that's where house music lives, you know, for me. And we have the support of radio, we have the support of television. I don't think there's any country that supports electronic music like our country. And, you know, my fear was always in, you know, how do we keep it alive? And now you're starting to see, like, a lot of guys doing shows in the Township, not just big annual shows, but the production is better, you know. You do gigs on weekends, you know, the sound is better. The crowd is growing every weekend, and, you know, I think, you know, in the next 10, 20 years, we'll have like a bigger scene.
I think it's only going to get bigger and better. I think that there's incredible talent out there, and the youth of today, you know, in South Africa, they live and breathe house music and electronic music. They love it, and they want more and more of it. So I think in terms of developing that youth, and, you know, people at this panel, all of us looking down to the youth and just giving them as much advice as possible. And, you know, I think if there's good management in place and good strategy, and looking at these artists, that it's obviously the music is the one big component that'll drive all of this talent, but there's a lot of cogs in the wheel, so to speak. So it's a matter of developing and everybody working together, more collaborations. But in the grand scheme of things, I see dance music getting bigger on all levels, from Township level to festival level.